Hello everyone, Teeny here for Pretty Pink Posh. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Thank you so much for joining me. Well, today I am excited to share a project with you using some brand new dies over at Pretty Pink Posh. This is part of their brand new September release. If you haven't had a chance to check out the September release, I encourage you to head on over there because there are some fun new items. We're going to be using the brand new, this is a standalone die and it's called the Fall Basket. I love it because this is just so versatile. Baskets can be filled with anything, and there's lots to fill in this die set. There's apples, there are mushrooms and acorns and pumpkins and fall leaves, which are just wonderful. What stole my heart was the eggplant. I haven't ever created a card with an eggplant, so I think the eggplant and the pumpkins are going to go good in our basket today. So that's what we're going to do with the Fall Basket die set. For my sentiment, we're going to use a brand new script die. This says Give Thanks, and I just love the lowercase scripty font of this, and I think it's going to go perfect layering on top of the basket for a nice fall thank you card. Or give thanks card, kind of an everyday card during the Thanksgiving season. So let's jump in. We need some cardstock. Now, normally fall for me is browns and reds and oranges, but I wanted to shake it up with some different colors. That's just been my theme this month, is throwing in some teals to my fall cards. So that's what we're going to do. Let's grab some cardstock. Okay, I went ahead and separated my dies to make it a little bit easier. We're going to start with our craft colored cardstock. Now this we're going to use for our basket. And you know what, as I'm looking at this, I'm thinking, because you can actually create a pocket with this, since you have the front and back, I bet you could put a gift card in here. Let me grab a gift card and I'll see. Okay, I have a gift card, kind of has fall colors on here, but if you wanted to go, it won't go all the way to the bottom, but if you wanted to put a gift card in the basket, how cute would that be? So that's another versatile way you could use this die set. But I'm going to take my front and back of the basket, die cut this out with some craft colored cardstock. And I'm hoping I can get both of these in here. I think it will just barely fit. Then we have the handle. That's this little hoop thing. We're going to put this on some same craft cardstock. I separated both of my pumpkins, and I have two different shades of orange for those. Oh, I have this piece too. I almost forgot this. These are layerable for your basket, so if you want a dimensional basket, you can use these. Let's see if we can fit these on here. There we go. So 5 pieces to the basket. And then we have our pumpkins. We have the longer, taller one. And when you die cut this out, you can die cut out the trunk or the stem of our pumpkin on both of these, and also the eggplant. So what I like to do is take a small thin strip of the brown that I'm going to use for the trunk. I'll add it right here behind my pumpkin. And then when I tack this down and run it through, I can use just a little bit of tape so it doesn't shift. Actually, I want the circle pumpkin to be the lighter color. Let's go here. And then I just like to tack it down, that way it doesn't move. But then you can die cut out your pumpkin and your stem at the same time. We're going to do that with our taller pumpkin. I just line it up here, and it's okay if it overlaps on this area of the pumpkin. And then we're going to layer this here. Tape that down. So our pumpkins are good to go. For our eggplant, I have 2 different purples. I wasn't sure if the purple's going to go with the orange or not. But I wanted to roll with it just to see how it would look, and I think the teal will bring it all together. Okay, now we have our eggplant. For our eggplant, the top I don't want brown, I want that to be green. And I want different shades. So I'll die cut out a few of the pumpkin stems with the light green and a few with the dark green. And then we'll die cut out. Did I call this a pumpkin? But I'll die cut out a few of the eggplant stems with the light and then the dark. Kind of doing the same thing that we are with our pumpkins to save a little time. And then we have a little leaf that you can add to your eggplant. I'm going to die cut that out a couple times with the lighter and the darker green. Then I have a nice warm yellow, and then there's like a little grassy wheat foliage in here. I'm going to die cut that out a couple of, maybe 3 times with my yellow cardstock. So all of our die cutting is good to go. I do want to die cut my Give Thanks with some white cardstock while we are at it. Okay. And I have a bit of die cutting to do. When I'm done die cutting, I will be right back. I went ahead and die cut everything out. So now we could build a basket filled with. I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you guys can see a little bit better. Actually, I'm going to zoom in a little more because those eggplants are so cute. Now what we're going to do is just take a little bit of glue and add the tops of our pumpkins and our eggplant. So we're just going to dot some glue on the very top. Oh, flip them around. Don't you love that there's stitch detail on these also? And we're just going to layer them. If you layer them right on top, let me show you. Just use the purple part as a guide and it layers beautifully. You know, these can also be used as gourds too. But I like the purple for fall because it's different. Now I have a few leaves for, I'm going to alternate with the leaves on my pumpkin. So I'm going to add a little dot of glue on the bottom of a couple of the leaves. Maybe 3 of them. And my glue's coming out really fast. Okay, and then we are going to, I like to lift up the eggplant and attach it to the trunk of the eggplant. You can kind of twist and turn. And I'll do that with the other 2. Let's see. Now my eggplants are finished. We'll set these aside and I'm going to do the same thing to the trunks of our pumpkin. I glued right out a little bit. So our pumpkins are done also. If you want to put some leaves on your pumpkins, you could very well do that also. But I think we're just going to leave them orange. Now that our layering is all done, I'm going to bring in my craft mat and we're going to do a little bit of ink blending just to add a little bit of warmth to our card. So I have my craft mat. We're just going to add a little bit of color. This is Rusty Hinge. It's a dark orangey color. And we're just going to do a little bit of shading. Now while we have our ground espresso out, I'm going to take my basket and we're going to do a little blending with this. For this I'm going to use my blending brush and I'm going to just go to the left and to the right and maybe to the bottom a little bit. We have all of our elements with a little bit of shading on there and I love that look. And now we're going to build our basket. First we're going to take our weaved pieces and we're going to add a little bit of glue to this side and this side. And then we can just layer these on here. Now this is going to go on here with, I'm going to put some foam adhesive behind it. But I don't have enough fruit to fill my basket, so we're going to cheat a little bit. Let me show you how. So I have some small squares of orange and of the purple. We're going to do a little bit of a faux basket filling, and to do that it's so easy, kind of fun. We're just going to basically create a little collage on the inside of our basket. And there's no right or wrong to do this. We're just going to add a few pieces to where they overlap. It looks like I might need some lighter orange here. Now we're just layering these, overlapping them. Just basically we're getting a little bit of color behind here. This looks really funny, but I think that's plenty. So you can use your scraps left over from when you die cut your pumpkins out. It's a great way to add a filler behind here. Now that we did this, we're going to flip this panel around, and I'm going to add some foam adhesive behind here. Now I'm going to remove the release paper, and then we can add the top of our basket over the back of our basket. There we go. Now that we have this done, we're going to fill our basket up here. And so let's add some adhesive behind our large pumpkin. And then for this one, we'll add a little bit more. I think that's a good spot. And we have some of our eggplants, which I think I'm going to pop up with some foam adhesive. You see how it looks? We have like a basket filled with our fall vegetables. We're going to go ahead and add our little wheat, and I'm just going to use some tape behind here. And I have a basket filled with pumpkins and some fun purple eggplant. Love the color combination. Okay, now I have a strip of white cardstock. We're going to create a border with this, and I'm going to bring in the Pretty Pink Posh Stitch Borders 3 die set. I'm going to use the scallop edge, and we're going to die cut out a scallop for our background. Just tape this down and run this through my die cut machine. I think the stitched detail of the scallop border is going to go beautiful with the stitched detail of this. And plus I need a little bit of white for my sentiment. My give thanks sentiment. I think it's going to be nice for my background. Okay, as I'm looking at the color combination, I don't think I'm going to use the dark teal. I'm going to use the light teal. And I'm going to trim down this so I have a smaller panel with my paper trimmer. And I ended up trimming it to 3 1/4 inches wide by 3 1/2 inches tall. And then I'm going to mat this. Actually, I'm not going to mat it. I'm going to take this panel and place it over a slightly longer panel that's almost the same size. This is actually, let's see, I know it's 3 1/4 inches wide, but it is 4 1/2 inches long. This way I can adhere my scallop border to the very bottom of my light teal colored cardstock. To do that, I'm just going to flip this around, add some adhesive, and then we can add our scallop here. And then I'll take this panel, we're going to add some adhesive behind here, and we're going to place this on this. Now you don't have to, you can trim down your orange cardstock to a small strip, but I'm going to add some foam adhesive behind here, and so I like the strength of this. Before I add foam adhesive behind this panel, I'm going to bring in some brown twine, just to kind of bring in some of that earthiness. I love the color combination, and then I'll tie a bow off to the left here. Okay, and then we'll just trim off what's overhanging. And I think that's going to be a great home for our basket. So let's go ahead and let's add some fun foam behind our background. I have my card base, and what I did was take an embossing folder. I just grabbed one from my stash, and since this is a fall card, I thought the plaid would go really good. But I embossed the front of my A2 size card base, which is 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches. I think texture on cards is wonderful, and using an embossing folder is a fabulous idea, especially when you have a large white area around the border. So we're going to add our panel in the center. And I'm glad we didn't use the darker teal, because I think the softness of this works really well with what we're going for. Now we're going to take our basket full of fall, and I already put adhesive behind it. We're going to place this. We're going to place our basket just above our twine. I'm going to go ahead and take my Give Thanks script die, and I'm going to tuck it underneath partially under our handle. So you can still see the word thanks, but you can still see the handle also. And then I'm going to add a dot of glue above my eye. And then we can finish off our sentiment here. I think the sunset orange pearls is going to work perfectly for a little bit of shimmer on our card. So let's add a few here and there. And I love that there's 3 sizes of these. And then that will finish off my project today for Pretty Pink Posh. I thank you so much for joining me. Have a lovely rest of your week, and we will see you soon. Bye-bye.